Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Joel Brice, and welcome back to another episode of Delta Waterfowl's The Voice of the Duck Hunter podcast. On today's podcast, we talk all things Remington ammunition. Today's guests are Marketing Director Joel Hodgdon and Senior Engineer in Research and Development, Jon Langenfeld. Stay tuned and we'll discuss the current business structure of the Remington brand. We'll also talk ammo shortages and how Remington ammunition is working 24/7 to put their ammo on the shelves. And finally, we geek out and talk about shot shell engineering, testing, and new product development. With that introduction, let's bring in today's guests. Welcome to the podcast, guys. Good to have you.
Good to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Joel.
Awesome. So for everybody listening here again, we have Joel Hodgdon, who's the marketing director for Remington Ammunition, and Jon Langenfeld. Am I pronouncing it the way it looks? Awesome.
You are.
Awesome. So you're the senior engineer in research and development for Remington Ammunition. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, I've been doing that for almost 10 years.
Geez. Joel, how long you been with the company?
I am the new guy. So I've been on board since last October. And then I've worked for our parent company, Remington's new parent company, Vista Outdoor, for the past 3 years. But real quick, we should comment. Have you had two Joels on the podcast before? Is this a first?
Yeah, no, this is the first. It's a little bit trippy. I'm not sure if I'm talking to myself. I usually don't talk to myself out loud, so it's a little bit confusing.
I love it. Well, happy to make a podcast first, but yeah, I've been with Remington almost a year now, and it's been an awesome year. And we'll talk more about what Remington's up to and how the year's gone for sure.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Tradition here. Get to know the guests. So we don't want to just mine you for information. We want people to know who you are and understand, your backgrounds. Jon, let's start with you.
Sure. Yeah.
Just give us, take a couple minutes and talk about, your background, early introduction to hunting, perhaps, and then your current world.
So I grew up in Southern Illinois, about an hour east of St. Louis, and it's, big whitetail deer hunting country. And my grandpa owned a farm. So I grew up shooting guns and fishing and hunting out there. And that was just a way of life. And as I grew older and was able to experience competitive trap shooting, it was something that I would do every chance that I could. I started loading my own shotgun shells when I was about 13, just because that's what everybody else was doing. You could load them cheaper, and I kept doing it. And so, again, like I said, it was kind of like a way of life, hunting, trap shooting. And then as I got older and figure out that I had to work for a living, I tried to mesh a passion with a career. And so I was pretty good with numbers, and I decided to go get a mechanical engineering degree. I got a bachelor's and a master's in that so that I could get into this industry. So there was a means to an end to get that engineering degree so that I could get into this industry and enjoy what I do every day. And so when I'm not at work designing ammunition, I'm shooting rifles and developing loads and trap shooting in my own personal time. So I mean, that's my life. That's what I do.
Okay. So do you hunt waterfowl?
I have not hunted a lot of waterfowl. I've done it a handful of times. Living down here in Arkansas now, there's a lot of waterfowl hunters around. But it's not something that I've ever got into, just because I don't have a boat, I don't have dogs, and I just haven't got into it yet. And so most of my hunting has been whitetails in Illinois. I've hunted in Africa, been on safari. We used to plant dove fields back home, sunflower fields, and shoot doves every year. But so that's really about it so far.
Hey, that's all right. There's room. There's so many things. I've often said this about myself, kind of reflecting. I love to do everything. And so I find that I feel like I'm destined to not be the best at any one thing, because I spread my time across too many things. So maybe there's a lesson to be learned there, and you can pick it up later.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Joel, how about you?
Yeah. Well, I can't let Jon get away. So he's you're a taken man, Jon. You got a wedding coming up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Can you? I love the story about you and your fiance. Can you talk about how you guys met and kind of?
Yeah. So her name's Jill, and I met her at the Remmington Gun Club. She was working down there part time whenever I moved here in the summer, and so that not only was I going down there to shoot, but also because Jill was there, and we became pretty good friends. And eventually we started dating. And, the big piece of the story that everybody enjoys is I was going to buy her a ring about 7 years ago. We've been together, 7 years. And so call it 5 years ago, I was going to buy her an engagement ring. And trap season was around the corner, and she was really wanting a new break open shotgun. And so I gave her the choice. And I said, hey, look, I was going to buy you an engagement ring, but I know that, in about a month, we're going to be shooting traps. So you can either get a new trap gun or you can get an engagement ring. And she didn't even think about it. She just said, I want the new trap gun. And yes. So she got a new trap gun. And anyways, I bought her a ring about a year ago. And so we're going to get married next year.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank
Shout out to Jill. That was a good choice. Going over the ring. Because the ring's coming anyway. You just
she did. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, smart girl. And that's a fiance goal right there. I get my wife out and we'll shoot a little bit of trap when we can, but she's no Jill, but by any means. but no, anyway, hey guys, I'm Joel Hodgdon and I'm Remington's marketing director. And as I mentioned, been on board with the company about a year, but it's a dream for me. I mean, it's my dream job. I grew up hunting, shooting, reloading. I'm actually a Hodgdon powder Hodgdon. So, I don't know how many of your listeners and folks watching our video like to make their own shot shells or rifle cartridges or handgun ammo, but I grew up in the Hodgdon powder family. And so I kind of grew up steeped in this industry and big into hunting, shooting, reloading. I kind of, shoot to hunt, I guess you'd say. I love getting out and shooting some trap or sporting clays, go out to the range and practice my concealed carry skills or sight in a deer rifle, right? But I'm a big deer hunter. Grew up doing that in Kansas and around the Midwest. And I'm a big pheasant guy too. So new to Arkansas, like I mentioned, haven't done a ton of duck hunting yet, but flooded timber is on my bucket list for sure. So I know I want to get out and do that hopefully this winter. And my dog is going to cross train, right? Because he's a pheasant dog, he's a quail dog, and now he's going to get his feet wet, I think, and maybe go out and get me some ducks. So big part of my life. For career wise, I knew that kind of like John, I wanted to turn a passion into a job. And so I went to college, did a marketing undergrad degree, did my MBA after that. And then I took a little side trip, I guess you'd say, and went and actually became a lobbyist for a few years. So I worked for the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation and did hunting, fishing, and shooting policy in the Midwest and in DC. And I think it's no surprise to anybody listening that how important the Second Amendment is, right? And how important it is to support hunting and shooting, be that in your local community, in your state, in your country. And so I was really lucky and felt privileged to kind of work on that stuff every single day and work with some of our legislators and lawmakers there. And then about 3 years ago, I came into Vista and joined the marketing team just to do some e-commerce work, some digital marketing work. And since then, it's morphed into moving down here to Arkansas and being part of Remington.
That's quite a journey already and more to come.
Yeah, no, I'm older than I look, right? Like, give me a little credit. I've been around the block a couple of times in the industry, but no, I think I'm just getting going, and I can choose a better place to be. I mean, I grew up, shooting core locked, right? And shooting gun clubs and knowing Remington. I mean, everybody knows the green box. And so it's a dream, I think, for me and for a lot of folks here, at the factory. So we're talking to you, Joel, out of our factory in Lone Oak, Arkansas. And it's really cool because most folks you meet here that work on the factory floor behind me or work in accounting or wherever they're at, I mean, there's a lot of hunters, there's a lot of shooters. It's not just a day job, right? It's really cool to meet people that are as passionate about our products, about hunting, about shooting, about reloading as John and I are. So I definitely think we're more of the norm and not the exception.
So you'd call shooting or hunting part of company culture?
For sure. And it's, people love to do different things in their free time. And I don't have any kids yet. And I definitely understand, once you get kids, it's hard to find the time to get out and get outside as much as you'd like, or hit the range as much as you'd like. But I think for the folks that do have time around here, it's definitely part of company culture. So John mentioned he met Jill at our gun club, right? And John, maybe you can talk about the Remmington Gun Club and history there and kind of what we're doing out there.
Yeah, so the club's been there for quite a while. I mean, I think the plant out here in the 70s, and the club was probably put in maybe early 80s. It's a trap and skeet club. It's located a mile south of the plant. And I think that there's a lot of people around the area that don't even know it's there, but it's a great club. We try to promote, as much employee usage and participation, and host, employee leagues and things like that to just involve people that may not have grown up with firearms and hunting and shooting like Joel and I have. And so, just a mile south of the plant, trap, skeet, and, pretty soon there'll be a sporting clays course out there.
Yeah, that's right. So we worked with the Arkansas Game and Fish, and then our friends in the Midway USA Foundation, and we got a grant to build a sporting clays course. So we're gonna build. Is it the state's first public sporting clays course, John?
I don't know about that, but it's going to be one of a few in the area, and there's only I think one other one in Central Arkansas, but it's a members only. So, the public can come and utilize this course, and from what I've seen of it so far, it's going to be one of a kind. It's going to be pretty neat.
Yeah, maybe that's what I was thinking of. I think it's going to be the only public course kind of in the area, and we're in Lone Oak, Arkansas, so we're about a half hour outside of Little Rock. So middle of the state. If y'all are going, to Memphis down I-40, you're going to pass right by our plant and right by the gun club. So,
and the other thing too, we've got guns out there. We've got all kinds of, B3s and 1100s and shotguns. So if you're passing by and you don't have your gun, no big deal. There's ammo there. There's guns there. It doesn't cost anything to use them. You just come grab a gun, get some ammo, and go shoot.
Yes, and I'm waiting on the ammo jokes, but there is plenty of ammo out there. Like, come on out and shoot. We got plenty for you, and you can buy some and take some home too on the shot shell side. So it's pretty cool, and you get to drive right by the plant.
Well, see, we're actually, you guys probably are familiar with this. We're holding our first ever national convention in Little Rock next July. So there's going to be a whole heck of a lot of Delta Waterfowl members and duck hunters descending upon Little Rock, not during duck season.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to have you guys, and we ought to talk, Joel, about maybe, doing a tour or something and getting some of your folks through the plant.
That would be awesome. That'd be a neat opportunity, a rare opportunity, I would say. So awesome. Hey, let's kind of jump into this. So Remmington, I'm just going to say national icon, right? So, if you say the word Kleenex, it's where the brand has kind of overcome the object, right? And when I look at Remmington, geez, that's been a part of my life ever since I was a kid. Like you said, that green box of ammo, just all the different types of Remington shotguns. I have a hand-me-down 1187. That was my father's. So I cherish that gun. Cool. But so obviously Remmington has taken a few different turns over the last few years. And I think when people talk Remmington, they say, gosh, are they still in business, or what's going on? And of course you're live and well, but Joel, could you kind of just give us kind of pick up in the most recent significant moment that brings us to today, and just kind of tell us how the organization is structured now, or the company?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, it's been the news a little bit, but I guess going back to history, we were founded in 1816 by Leffel at Remington, Eli for short. And he built the company in the equivalent of a 1816 garage, right? I mean, he was a blacksmith, and his dad was a blacksmith, and Eli liked to shoot. And the story goes is that, he made a rifle barrel and he went to a shooting match, and he walked away from that match and his firearm had done so well that he walked away from the match with enough orders to start the company, right? So it's an entrepreneurial story. It's an American success story. And I mean, yeah, it's an iconic brand, right? And if you think about, you can probably count on one hand, sure, there's the Winchesters, there's the Remingtons of the world. There's not a lot of us left, right, that have been around for 208 years plus now. So it's just an awesome legacy and heritage. Over the years, Remington from 1816 grew and grew. And first it was firearms, right? And then we added ammunition in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And Remington was owned by DuPont for a long, long time. And eventually Remington was owned by some different private equity groups that, to be honest, didn't always understand the business or the industry. And they just kind of looked at Remington as a number on the balance sheet, right? And so I think over time that caused some problems, and the company made some poor quality mistakes maybe, or bad product introductions, faced some lawsuits, whatever that was. I don't want to talk about the past too much, but it kind of built towards a couple of different bankruptcies. So last fall, Remington went through a bankruptcy last October, and the courts came in and actually sold off the old Remington for parts, for pieces. And so different companies came in and bought different parts of the old Remington company. And so some super familiar names to your listeners. So our friends at Ruger bought Marlin lever guns. And now they're, from what I hear, coming out with Marlins again. Our parent company, Vista Outdoor, came in and bought the Remington ammunition assets. So the plant that we're talking to you today from in Arkansas. And we also bought the Remington brand and intellectual property, which I think is super important. So Vista Outdoor, I mean, we're a publicly traded company. We own other brands that I bet folks listening in have used, if that's Camelback water bottles, Bell motorcycle helmets, bicycle helmets, Camp Chef grills. Those are all Vista brands, sister companies. And then the kind of the group that we roll up under is the ammunition group. And that includes other awesome ammo brands like Federal Ammo, Spear Ammo, CCI Ammo, right? And then recently Heavy Shot Ammo as well is a new acquisition. So Vista, that group, bought Remington and bought the ammo assets. And then a new company called Rem Arms was put together and bought the firearm assets of the old company, which includes the historic Ilion, New York firearm manufacturing plant. So now, to get through all the corporate babble and terminology, I guess a simple way to say it is that Remington Ammunition and Remington Firearms are two separate companies, but we're going to be really good partners, and we're rooting for them. I know they're rooting for us. And I think that the Remington brand is in a really safe place. Like we talked about, I mean, it's something that we all grew up with and we all want to see it thrive and survive. And so now, having Remington owned by a company that understands hunting and shooting, understands the outdoors, understands the Second Amendment, I think, I'm a little biased, obviously, but it makes me feel safe about where Remington's going to end up.
No, that's cool. Now you mentioned too that there's the name Remington, right? And so Remington Ammo, Vista owns the Remington name. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So we own the Remington name, we own the Remington brand, and we're starting to work with a lot of really cool partners and licensees. And so we're going to take that Remington name and work with other people to bring out, Remington hunting apparel or Remington knives, Remington coolers, Remington deer feeders, right? We're going to kind of get back to where Remington used to be and put out all this awesome stuff. But I should make a note that, we're ammo people, right? Like, you don't want me making your deer stand. You don't want me making your knife, and we're not going to do that. Like, we're focusing on making as much ammo as we can. But we're going to license out that Remington name and work with some other really cool companies to get more Remington products out there, including the firearms business. So the firearms business is going to use the Remington name and make firearms again. And from what I hear, again, separate company, but from what I hear, the Remington Arms folks are going to make 870s again. They're making Remington shotguns again, which I'm excited about for sure.
Okay. No, I think, I think that's a real common question. So, okay. So it's a company, it's the same factory making those firearms. Is that right?
Yeah. So from what I understand, the Ilion, New York kind of historic firearms plant is still going to make Remington firearms. Again, we're a separate business, separate plant, but all the ammo has always been made down here in Arkansas. And we're really proud of that down here in Lone Oak, Arkansas. But yes, the firearms are going to get made up in New York, kind of as they always have been.
Got it. Okay. Probably enough about that. I'm excited. It's an exciting subject. You think of someone that's been around, a company that's been around forever, right? Well beyond our lifetimes, and it's such a time when guns are in such demand and ammunition is in such demand. It just it almost doesn't make sense that a company like that would have a struggle, but struggle's real, and you guys are up and running and kicking out ammo. So let's just kind of take this opportunity to take that turn. Let's go into something that's a little bit more familiar for you guys in your present day jobs. So let's talk about the ammo. So John, I'm going to state the obvious here. Ammo's hard to come by. Can you explain, John, kind of the cause? I know you're the engineer side, so if I'm throwing you questions that you're not prepared to answer, you feel free to kick it back to Joel. But what's the general cause of ammo shortages right now?
Oh, the demand is just so high. That's pure and simple. There's so many people that want ammunition, And when they have the opportunity to purchase ammunition, they buy as much as they can every chance they get. And as long as consumers continue to do that, then there's going to seem like there's a shortage.
Well, okay. COVID, it's a tired word. I say that every time I mention it. I'm tired of the word. But one of the things that I heard, so I remember when COVID first hit and you couldn't get toilet paper and you couldn't get, paper towels. And I heard someone say that if everybody just went out and bought only the toilet paper that they needed, that there wouldn't have been a shortage. But the fact that people were grabbing it, by, trunk loads of toilet paper, that there came to be a shortage. Is that a similar analogy for the ammunition side?
Oh, I think it's 100% accurate. Yeah.
So it's not, I guess, there's all kinds of the rumor mill, right? There's no such thing as a vacuum. People are going to come up with their own reasons, but I've heard that there are component shortages, primers, maybe where you guys source them or other companies source them. Is there any components shortage at all?
I mean, we make our own primers here. We buy raw materials and, form all the metal out that goes into them, make our own mix. And so, to my knowledge, supply chain issues and stuff like that is minimal. I think it's just the demand is so high. We mentioned earlier talking about the Grand American, they shell shotgun shells up there. They call it the shell house. And they were limiting individuals to who were shooting events on what they could purchase. So if you signed up for 3 events, you could buy ammunition for 3 events. Later in that week, they opened it up to non-shooters and shooters as well, but they said you can buy 5 case maximum. And it didn't take very long, and there was hardly any ammunition left. And so I seen people with truck beds full of ammo that they brought to the shoot, and they were still buying ammo. So it's the demand. The demand is so high. Consumers are still buying every chance they can get. And like I said, that's why there's a shortage. It's hard to get what you want right now.
And, sorry, Joel, you touched on the COVID concerns and costs, and that is real for us. I mean, we've seen, again, this is tired too, but I mean, we've seen a huge increase just in the cost of raw materials, right? So heck, even the cardboard that we buy, the corrugate we buy to just put around our product, right? The packaging for our ammunition, that's gone up in cost. I mean, all the raw materials, all the steel, the lead, the copper, the bronze that we're making and buying, all this stuff is just going up cost, year over year and continuing to increase. And so, yeah, John's right. I mean, we make everything here in Arkansas, from raw material all the way to the finished piece of ammo, right? So we have bricks of metal rolling in one side and finished ammo rolling out the other. It's a really cool process, but we are facing cost increases there. And so that does kind of slow things down for us too. So yeah, I think the toilet paper analogy is a good one. And, I've heard the crazy rumors too. And just to be 100% clear, I mean, we're not selling to the government. We're not stockpiling ammo. The Clintons don't come into our factory once a week with a big truck and grab all the ammo and leave. Like, none of that is happening, right? I mean, we are making as much ammo as we possibly can and getting it out the door to hunters and shooters. Because, like we talked about, like we're hunters and shooters too. And we use this stuff and we want to see it out there. And, I don't know how to say it any more clear. Like, we're just trying to do the best we can. And, we're working hard. Like, we've hired hundreds of people. And we're going 24/7 making ammunition. And so I think that, we'll get caught up, right? We'll make sure there's enough product out there. It's just taking us some time to kind of get ramped up and try to catch up to that demand.
Okay. Yeah. I think those are the two things that I always hear. So you go down to a local sporting goods store and the shelves are bare of a lot of things, right? It's just what you want is not there. But if it is there, it costs more than it normally did. And so I think we addressed the shortage, and Joel, you kind of touched on maybe why the prices have gone up. And it's just, for whatever reason, the cost of raw materials has gone up. So sure, you guys can keep your supply on hand, but it costs you more to get it. And obviously that's the law of business, right? You have to pass those prices on to the consumer.
Yeah, I mean, it's supply and demand, right? And we don't sell direct to consumer right now, so We're selling our ammo in through our wholesalers, our distributors, our retailers. And that's part of it for sure. And, I think I mentioned hiring, like, heck, that's raw materials, but I don't know if anybody, if you guys have tried to hire recently, but it's tough, right? I mean, people are getting back to work, which is awesome, but the labor market's pretty tight, and we're trying to hire in hundreds and hundreds of people to our factory and get them trained up. And that takes some time. And we're kind of competing not just for, the raw materials, but we're competing for labor. We're competing for people to come into work and make some ammo. So, quick plug, if anybody is listening from Central Arkansas, like, come on out, apply online. We'd love to have you with us here at Remington.
Yep. That's a good plug.
Thanks.
Crystal ball. Nobody has one, but is this, will life go back to normal in terms of ammo supply?
Yeah, it's a good question. I wish I knew the answer. I think that, this is just my 2 cents, Joel's opinion, right? Personal opinion. Looking into my crystal ball, I think as hopefully COVID gets under control and goes away, as folks get back to work, as some of these restrictions go away, I know we saw over the last 18 months, I mean, millions and millions of people bought a gun for the time. Thousands of folks bought hunting licenses again and got back outside, which is awesome. Those are really positive things, but that's created more demand, right? And so I think as maybe people get back to their movie theaters or get back to their TVs or whatever that is, I think demand will kind of subside, and we're just going to keep cranking out ammo, right? The whole time. We're making 24/7 as much as we can. So, I don't want to give it a hard number because I'm probably going to be wrong. But I think it'll get back to where you can into your Cabela's, you can walk into your Academy Sports, you can walk into your Sportsman's Warehouse. You'll be able to find ammo again, for sure.
That's good. Me personally, I am trying to just buy what I need. And I'm gambling on the fact that when I run out, I can go buy it again. So I'm trying not to contribute to that shortage. But hey, I guess I'll look back and say, yep, that was a bad move. I got halfway through duck season and I'm done, or I'm paying top dollar from somebody off of a website. But hey, that's life. It's a gamble. So
yeah, and I don't want to tell you guys how many rounds I've got in my basement. I think I'm part of the problem. So it's it's human nature, right? I mean, I get it, and no, I understand. I know it's frustrating. So give us some time, guys. I think Remington will catch up. We'll get there, and we'll get plenty of that green box ammo back out there. We're making a ton of it, like I said.
That's good. That's good. Appreciate that, guys. Keep it up, John. I want to back up just a little bit. What does the senior engineer in research and development do? Like, I understand that I learned this from Joel, you have a couple patents under your name, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I design ammunition. We've got an R&D group here. I'm one of a few guys that are lucky enough to do this job, and so we're tasked primarily with new product introductions. And so whenever we, product management wants to come out with something new, center fire, shot shell, I primarily do shot shell. I've done both, but it's my job to figure out how to do it and to make sure that we can meet the specifications performance wise of what that new product is going to be. And, it may, by chance have some intellectual property, wad design. You could, just like any other design, you can patent certain things. And so, but that's what I do from white paper through, initial prototyping, the first trial runs on equipment, into full mass production, to make sure that we have a robust process and that the employees on the floor can manufacture, that new product day in and day out. And so not only is it the component design and the testing that we're responsible for, but also the process may require new equipment. It may require new tooling or how you feed those components. So everything that goes into making ammunition for that new product, that's what the R&D group is responsible for the product, the overall performance, and the manufacturing of it so that it can be put into production.
So that's interesting. Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm going to lead you guys through a a few questions that I have written down, but I'm just taking a flyer on this one. Shot shells have been around for a long time. Jon, what types of advancements are needed, or are there certain areas of shot shell performance that are more wanting than others? Where do you even start?
Well, we're always looking at what can be better. What can we provide to a consumer to make the rounds more lethal, pattern better, just be a bigger advantage over what competitors may offer. And also too, can we do it cheaper? Can we improve processes and provide a product to a consumer that will be just as effective as what is on the market now, but maybe at a lower price point? So there's multiple things that we can look at in what would consider a new product. And you're right, shot shells have been around for a long time, but if you go back and look at the advancements of an all brass body to paper bodies, with, if you go look, and you've probably seen the cutaway views of shells where you can see like cork wads on the insides of them, and then the shot on top of that. And so you go from, those type of wadding materials to an actual one-piece plastic wad with a shot container. And, so you've increased your efficiency of your loads by being able to seal your gas in better. Your materials that you're using, there's advancements in those. We have plastic bodies now. I mean, could you imagine being a waterfowl hunter with paper shells that maybe, you drop them in the boat, and next thing you know, the next day they're all, soaked up full of water. So plastic shells, we can waterproof them. We can seal the crimps. We can seal the primers. And then also too, with the mandate of non-toxic shot, there's been advancements made there. The first one was steel, and everybody knows that steel shot is not as dense as lead, and it's just not as effective. It doesn't carry its energy as far. And so, that's one of the things that we can also look at as what materials are we going to use. Remington just came back out with the Wingmaster HD product, and the density of that product is going to be similar to lead. So if you've got guys listening that was able to hunt in the day whenever lead was legal, and that difference, Wingmaster HD is going to perform like that, but be non-toxic. And but from an R&D standpoint, we can look at performance, we can look at cost, recoil, patterns, and try to develop, the most advanced optimized product for the specific application, whether it's flooded timber or, goose hunting out in pits, things like that. And, and non-toxic as well. There's more and more restrictions coming where a pheasant hunter may have to use that on private ground, or not private, I mean public ground, things like that. So that's what we look at.
And we don't have the monopoly on good ideas either. Right. So Jon, we talk all the time. It's like, how do we listen to the customer? How do we listen to the hunter, the shooter, the reloader? So I'd say, folks, if you've got a need, if you have an idea for a product, like, let us know, write in, hop online, Remington.com, get a hold of us on social media, track down an email and get a hold of somebody, because we want to hear about, hey, what happened to that shot shell? Why did that thing fail for you? Or what do you wish you could do with your shells? Right. Like what kind of product niche are we not filling? What need do you have as a shooter, as a hunter? So we're always listening for new ideas. And, so we've got a robust product pipeline. And Jon, I know your group and engineering, we're hiring a ton, right? We're trying to get people in the door to keep innovating, but we're not going to innovate at the expense of our old products either. So yeah, we're working on new products, and we're happy to bring back Wingmaster HD. We're making a ton of nitro steel, a ton of sportsman steel. We're making sure that we're going to build our whole catalog. So we're making our old products, and we're looking ahead for new products, because, I don't think we're not serving anybody if we sit back on our hands and say, well, hey, we're Remington, we don't ever have to come out with a new product. No, I mean, we're looking ahead and saying, when this ammo surge dies down, like, how are we going to innovate and get new products out there and make our products better? Because we want you guys to pick up a box of green ammo because it's the best thing out there. Right. And then we're going to keep working hard to make sure it is.
No, that's good. That's really good. So, I have my browser open up on another screen here, and I'm looking at, so there's obviously lead, there's steel. One of my questions was going to be, what other types of, non-toxic shot are you guys dealing with? And it looks like tungsten is what Remington is dealing with. That's the Wingmaster HD, that's tungsten shot.
That's historically, yeah, it's been a tungsten bronze shot material. It's an alloy. And it was around some years ago, they introduced it and had some good success with it. And for whatever reasons, throughout the years, it was discontinued. But over the last couple of years, it was a demand increase. People were asking, where's it at? This was a really good product. Can you bring it back? And so, we dusted it off and started loading it again.
That's cool. Yeah, I was telling Joel last week that nitro steel, that brings back a lot of memories. I sitting in the blind with my dad way before I could hunt. And, of course, I think a kid like that, I remember, I would handle his ammo for him, hand him the shells. But the other thing, when he'd have a spent shot shell, I'd fill it with corn and I would throw corn out of my shot shell hull, when the ducks would come in. And so, yeah, those are, I don't know that I think about it as much now as when I was a kid. That's all I had, right? I didn't have the gun. So it's pretty cool. So, I would recommend people jump on your website, Remington.com. I'm seeing /shot shell, and you'll see all the lines there, whether you're a dove hunter, upland hunter, waterfowl hunter. So that's the waterfowl line. I see Sportsman High Speed, the Nitro Steel, the Wingmaster HD. Am I missing anything there, guys?
Yeah, hypersonic is probably, it is the fastest duck load on the market right now. And John, I'll kick that one to you to talk about what that means and why it's, one of the best duck loads out there.
Yeah, so it's got the velocity. And when you look at steel shot, and we talked about this a while ago, how do you make a waterfowl load more effective? And if you increase the velocity, you're going to put more energy on your target. And so this particular load uses a patented wad design that has an ignition chamber on the bottom. And it's kind of a two-stage ignition. When your primer goes off, you increase your volume in your shell, and you can basically burn up a larger quantity of propellant than you normally can because of this wad design, which will give you more velocity. You've got more propellant in there to burn. So you can get the speed up, and you're doing, we've got a full line. You've got 20 gauge, 12 gauge, 10 gauge. The velocities are typically right around 1,700 feet per second. Some of them are a little lower. I believe the 10 gauge is in the 1,500s and the 20 gauge is around 1,600. So it's moving pretty fast. And the guys that I know that hunt waterfowl down here that have used the product, they believe in it, and they've got a passion. And when they talk about hypersonic, it's, you can definitely see the look on their face when they're talking about shooting waterfowl with it. So we've got kind of the good, better, best, as product management always calls it, with your Sportsman steel being your good, and nitro steel being better, and hypersonic being best. And then you've got your non-toxic, higher density shot material and Wingmaster HD. So you've got options there for the consumers.
So John, can you talk about patterning and how that works with something like, lead versus steel versus tungsten? And so like hypersonic is a good example. Like how does that increase velocity impact your pattern?
So as a general rule, when you increase your velocity, patterns open up, air dispersion gets in there. It's just more resistance on your pellets. When you increase your density of the pellet, you're typically maintaining size. Sometimes you might go lower in the actual diameter, like all the craze with the TSS turkey loads and the size of those pellets being 7s and 9s. But for the most part, if you look at steel shot, a number 4 pellet versus a Wingmaster number 4 pellet, the Wingmaster pellet is heavier, even though they're the same size. So it's just harder to move around, in just basic terms. It's harder for the air to move that pellet and make it disperse more. And so you're going to get better patterns, and you're going to get, it's kind of like the ballistic coefficient of a bullet as well. For the same size, it's a heavier bullet. So you're going to maintain your velocity, which is going to be more energy on target when those pellets get there.
And so what I always hear is, you think about shot material like tungsten or something heavier like that, it's going to hit like a lead shot size too smaller, right? 2 shot sizes smaller. So you think about if you're shooting a number 9, size 9 lead pellet, lead shot, downrange, it's going to hit like a 7, right? Do I have that right?
Yeah, it's pretty close. So, for a steel shot pellet, the most common stuff you're looking at, what, 2s, 3s, 4s is probably, your most common. And if you're shooting Wingmaster, you can shoot a little bit smaller pellet and be similar. So to get the weight up of a steel pellet, you need to get bigger. And you don't have to do that with the higher density material. So you could shoot, say you're flooded timber and your shots are relatively close. You could probably shoot a 6 Wingmaster, 5 Wingmaster, and that would probably be about like shooting maybe a 3 steel.
Plus you're packing more in that shell too, right? I mean, with a smaller shot size, you can fit more shot.
Well, it depends. I mean, it depends on the weight. It's all in ounces. It could be the same weight, but your pellet counts can change. It just, like I said, we have various load lines. Some people like ounce and quarter. Some people like speed. Some people like more pellets. Do you want an ounce and 3/8 at a little bit slower velocity? Or do you want an ounce and a quarter and you want to push it really fast? And so, we've got all different kinds of options, shell lengths, 2 3/4, 3.5, so that consumers can pick and choose, what they feel like gives them the confidence when they, load those shells in their gun.
Right. I was going to ask that question.
Your shoulder too.
Yeah, there you go. In a prior episode, I had Scott Carlson from Carlson Choke Tubes on the podcast, and we talked about at least, the choke side of the coin and how that obviously impacts patterning. And that was a pretty interesting discussion. But I had one of my coworkers, he said, ask this question. He said, I've heard that a 2 3/4 inch shot shell, same shot size, same material, patterns better than a 3-inch. No?
Nah. That's too broad of a statement. Just because it's shorter doesn't mean it's going to pattern better. Patterns and shotgun barrels and everything are unique, and you probably heard it from the choke guys themselves. And whenever I develop loads, we shoot it in a variety of choke tubes. Not only, of course, we were, as Remington, when we had the gun side, we would always, of course, shoot our factory chokes. But also I have chokes from all the big names out there so that I can see what consumers are going to be seeing when they are using their existing waterfowl choke that they have, or if I can find the optimum choke that's out there and recommend, this is what works the best. And so I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't think about, is changing their chokes to optimize it for what they're doing, and comparing your pattern sizes as the distances you're going to be shooting, and then also what shot size you want to use so that you have enough pellets in there to get a dense, a very dense pattern. So, looking at the technical side of things, I think it'd probably be eye-opening for folks to just go out and get a big piece of paper and, shoot some patterns. And I know that from personal experience, there's an individual that I work with that is a big waterfowl hunter, and I was asking him about what loads he uses and why and things like that. And, after him and I had that technical conversation, he was really surprised when he went out and shot some patterns, and he made decisions to change what he was using to be more effective.
You got to go out and pattern, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm so guilty of that. You buy a new shotgun, you're excited, you just take it out. You don't even think about taking it to the range and testing it out with some different chokes and seeing where you pattern at, but you got to do that. That's so crucial.
Yeah. John, so that from your end, from the manufacturing side and the design side, if you were trying to improve how a shot shell patterns, I mean, that's a huge statement. Is it basically lie in the choke? Is that really where you guys are looking at then when you're trying to improve the patterning of a shot?
That can have, yeah. I mean, that's a big part of it, what kind of choke you shoot it through. But you can also do things with wad design. So when you say improve a pattern, I think you need to identify what your goal is. Is it a more uniform pattern so that you don't have holes in it? And you can see that, with the different chokes, you may get really tight patterns and they're very uniform, or you may have, the total size of your pattern may be the same, your extreme spread, but it's got holes in it. You might have tight clusters in various locations. And so pairing a choke tube with a load that gives you a uniform pattern, and then also the size pattern for the distances you're shooting is important, so you don't have those big holes in it. So when we're developing ammunition, typically one of the most performance-driven goals that we look for is how do we make them pattern tighter,
Okay.
and then it's going to be on the consumer to go in and evaluate their gun with their choke tubes. Shotguns have different bore sizes, and from the competitive side, I'm a trap shooter. I see all the guys out there where they pattern their barrels, they pattern all the different types of loads. They send their guns out and have chokes massaged, is what I call it. And those guys will even ask them, what load do you want to shoot? And they can do things to those choke tubes to make that particular load pattern really well. So pattern your guns, shoot the loads that you normally do, but pattern your guns, check your choke tubes, and then you can be able to make good informed decisions on what you need to use.
Okay. I have a question. So this is kind of looking forward maybe. So, as a waterfowl hunter, when I take someone else hunting, maybe for the first time, or my kids, you have the spent shot shell, right? The holes laying on the ground. I always say it's your responsibility to pick those up, right? It's for the landowner. It's for the next person. Pick your reason. Any advancements? Will there ever be a kind of a biodegradable type hull? Or maybe two-part question. You can retrieve your hull, throw it away, reload if appropriate, but the wad, that sucker's gone forever. Can you talk about anything there?
Yeah, so those concerns are legitimate. We see those and hear those from not only hunters, but also gun club owners, sporting clay courses, things like that, where they've got wads all over the place. So yes, in the past there've been designs for biodegradable wads, so that they'll eventually degrade. I'll just say that it is a concern. It's on our radar, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm coming at it more from just kind of the public relations side, right? It's just, some people can view that as, it's just, as hunters, we always try to put our best foot forward, our best image possible.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, no, it is a concern. So we're looking at it. We know that it is a problem, and it also depends on what state you're in as well. But we don't want to have that image. And if by chance you miss a shell, you miss it, it's going to disappear eventually. And the wads, just like you said, you don't want to have the wrong person going up and seeing all the wads floated up on the bank of the pond or lake or whatever it is. And so there's things that we're looking at from a research standpoint that you'll probably see in the future that will address that situation.
Right. And the holy grail is, biodegradable wad hull paired with the same or better performance, right? Because
absolutely.
Right. If we come out with a wad that's biodegradable, but you can't hit crap with the shell, like no one's going to buy it, so we got to be able to keep kicking out good quality, good patterning shot shells while being able to innovate and come out with something like a biodegradable wad. But yeah, it's on our radar for sure.
And you can sprinkle in some seasoning into that, shot mix, right?
I love that gunpowder smell. That's just me. I don't know about you guys.
No, that's pretty good. Yeah, I think, just for the listener, do your part, pick up your shot shells, and end of story. Guys, any advancements coming? I know you probably don't want to leak things, but, just anything that you want the consumer to know about, the next few years of Remington ammunition?
Yeah, I'll kick it to John to drop a couple of hints maybe, but I do want to hint at one thing. So we're really pumped, everybody. This fall, we're coming out with a new hunting load. So not so much shot shell. We're talking center fire hunting, big game hunting, a new deer load, but we're going to come out with an improved version of an old favorite. So I'll leave it at that. And I think that guys that want to go out and shoot a deer this fall, this winter, you're going to be super interested in what Remington's got coming out. So hey, the Core Locks, the Premier Sirocco's, the hypersonic bonded, like those are all great loads, but we're coming out with something new. So more to come super soon.
Awesome. So Remington faithful, stay tuned. Anything you wanted to throw in there, John?
Yeah, I'll just say on the shot shell side of things, Joel mentioned it earlier that we added heavy shot into the family. And so for new things to come, those are me being a shot shell guy and design. I can now talk to the guys at Heavy Shot. So I would imagine we'll probably put our heads together and you'll be seeing some good stuff come from us.
And to another shameless plug, right? I'm a big turkey hunter, and I got to test out some stuff this last spring that we've got coming out, and it's actually announced. So we've got our new Premier TSS turkey coming out, and it'll be on shelves this spring. So I think by now we talked a lot about tungsten and what that material does for you and what that better density does for you. But I know Remington's going to join the tungsten turkey shell wars with a really nice product. And I was up in South Dakota hunting this last spring, and I whacked 2 big gobblers like 40 yards away through some decently thick brush, to the point that I'm like, I maybe should not have pulled the trigger on those gobblers, right? I mean, they were like that far and the brush was so thick, but I knew I had a good angle and a good opportunity. And so I took the shot, and 2 shells, knocked them both down. They didn't flop once, and those turkeys stayed down. So I can personally attest to our new turkey shells coming out. And, I know that the tungsten shells are more expensive, but if you're like me, I mean, I only get a chance to pull the trigger on a turkey, a good year is 2 or 3 times, right? 2 or 3 birds in a spring. So, I mean, I'm cool with paying that $10 a shell just to make sure that when I pull the trigger, it's gonna lay the bird down. So, I'm super fired up about Premier TSS, and, I hope for those turkey hunters out there that you try it, and, let us know what you think. Like, send me some pictures, send us some pictures. We'd love to see the birds that you guys are laying down.
That's pretty great. Pretty great. Yeah. It's you're not going to want to shoot $10 a shell at doves, but when you have 1 or 2 tags, it's a whole different context for pulling that trigger.
Right. And don't quote me on price. You might be able to find a better deal out there somewhere. I'm just generalizing. Right. So, don't email me. I know they're expensive.
More expensive, less expensive. There we go. We'll just go with gradient. But yeah. Hey guys, I really appreciate the time. We had some scheduling snafus to get on this discussion today, and really appreciate it. I'm glad to hear Remington Ammunition is alive and well, and let's just look forward to the future. We appreciate, the relationship that we have with Remington, and look forward to the future. So guys, if anyone wants to get a hold of you, I think they understand what you do. Jon, you're the super smart, I like the word nerd. I'm trying to bring the word nerd back. Like it's a proud thing. Like, I'm a duck nerd. You're the ammo nerd, and you're the guy, Joel, that helps Remington sell better, the marketing nerd. So let's bring that back. But if they have questions, if our listeners have questions for you guys or for me, I just wanted to put it out there that we have a dedicated email address for this podcast. It's podcast@deltawaterfowl.org. And if anyone has questions, send them into that email address, or log on to remington.com, and probably, I don't know if there's emails or comments areas where they could reach things up. But hey, if anybody has questions for Joel or Jon, podcast@deltawaterfowl.org, and I'll forward it, and they can take it from there. Any parting comments, guys, that you want to leave?
No, we'd be happy. Any questions, send them in, like you said, Joel. And just, finally, like, thank you guys for shooting Remington and believing in what we do. I mean, Big Green is back, as we like to say, and we're working super hard to get you guys ammo right now. And as I'm talking, like, I can hear our machines in the background working hard and getting ammo out there. So we're working hard for you guys, and we'll see you out there this fall. So thanks for having us, Jon.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that he said, we appreciate the consumers. It's American-made ammunition. We employ a lot of people here, and we thank you for your support.
Oh, last thing. I got to thank you, Joel. I mean, we're a big Delta supporter, a big Delta fan. We want to give back to conservation and be a part of what you guys are doing. And so just want to thank you guys for what you do for ducks and for wildlife, for conservation. It's near and dear to our heart, for sure.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. The feeling's mutual. So guys, until next time, maybe we'll have another subject where we want to dive a little bit deeper into ammunition, or if you have, as new products drop, you guys want to come share it with the listeners, just give me a jingle and I'll get you on.
Love it. Thank you.
Great.
All right. Thanks, guys. You take it easy.
You too.